How can we start? Right, here we are again, and unexpectedly, I didn't think I'd be seeing this bike again for a while. I thought we'd see it on its wheels, but no, because there's been a bit of a disaster.
Yes.
So what's been happening?
Well, the engine was obviously rebuilt by a company prior to the bike coming here.
Yeah.
So my job was just to basically put the engine in the chassis and turn it into some sort of street fighter.
Yes.
But we've put the engine in the frame last week.
Yes.
And the starter motor was missing, and I just one day just put my finger on the idler gear where the starter motor fits, and it should spin one way and not the other.
Right.
But it did, it spun both ways, and I'm thinking, that's not right, there's obviously something seriously wrong. Thinking it could possibly be a damaged starter clutch or whatever. Anyway, I've swung the engine, swung the frame up, so I could remove the sump.
Which you've now done.
Which I did the day after we fitted the engine.
Yes.
Just to investigate, and I found that the primary chain was too long.
This is the high-vol chain that
the high-vol chain between the crank and the jack shaft, and they're on fixed sensors. There's no tensioner on this model turbo engine. And I found out it's a 52 link primary chain, which is standard for the 650 and 750 carburetted models.
Yes.
But on the turbo Z750 turbo, they must have changed the primary ratios on the sprockets, on the jack shaft and the crank. So they've got a 50 tooth rear, 50 tooth primary, 2 teeth shorter. And the people that have built this engine have ordered and fitted a 52, standard 52 link primary chain, which is way too long.
Right, so we've just upended the engine, and so we can see the offending high-vol chain.
The primary chain.
So it's that's far too long by 2.
Yeah, I mean, there's a shaft that goes in across here called a secondary shaft.
Yes.
Or jack shaft, as some people call it.
Which is now removed.
And when it was on, around the sprocket on the jack shaft, it pushes the chain forward, and it's riding up over the sprocket on the crankshaft.
Yeah, it's not spinning it, is it?
Yeah, and then you turn the jack shaft, which obviously turns the crank, but it won't because the teeth aren't engaging because it was too long.
Right.
It's 2 teeth too long. So now I have to strip the engine and replace the primary chain.
Right.
But if they've made such a monumental mistake,
which they have,
what else have they got wrong? Is the big question. So.
Maybe everything's okay, but you don't.
Maybe, I mean, I've been stripping of, as you can see, I've been stripping all the side covers off. Yes. I'm going to remove the top end in the frame so that we can just lift the bottom end out of the frame without.
It's pretty damn heavy with it all.
Yeah, it's easier. It's easier just to lift the bottom end out and less likelihood of scratching anything.
To go back a little bit, this engine was built by a workshopper specialist down south.
That's right, nothing to do with me.
Southeast or whatever, some time ago.
Yeah.
And now they're no longer trading.
No, they went bust. Yeah,
whether because of COVID or whether because of other reasons.
I don't know what the reasons were. I mean,
but how on earth you could fit a chain that's clearly wrong? Because it just rolls over the.
It was completely. When I lifted the sump off and had a look, it was the chain you could see wasn't even engaging with the sprocket on the crank. The finish on it's top drawer. I mean, all the bolts are new. Yeah. Everything looks like it's been done meticulously well.
Except internal suspension.
Except this monumental cock-up.
I wonder why they did it, I don't know. There's also, I think, a problem you said here. We've got the sump.
Yeah.
And I think we mentioned last time about what on earth is this for? There's
a secondary sump fitted.
Yeah, with these bolt holes in it.
Yeah.
And it turns out you found out what it's for.
Yeah.
And what's it for?
There's another sump that bolts onto this, and it's where the oil from the turbo drains back.
Into the engine?
Into the engine, yeah.
And that's missing?
That's completely missing.
Yeah, we don't have that.
And then my customer hasn't got it, so we can only assume that this company have lost it. Yeah. So that's another item we need to buy.
Imagine they're not exactly common things to find.
Well, not for a turbo engine, no.
Because that's something very different from a standard 650 or 750.
No, I mean...
Right, so it's a bit of a disaster all round then.
Yeah, so, I mean, my time scale was to build the bike between now, where we are now, in November. I started this in June, July, and I've just done a few hours a day on it because I've had other work. but my time scale was to get it finished for next spring.
Of course, yeah,
but that didn't include a full engine rebuild, so now it's going to take a lot longer.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, I think there are some other bits that aren't ready yet, like the wheels and the...
well, I've got the wheels. They need painting and polishing, which I'll do. Forks I've stripped. They need bushes. Luckily, when I stripped them... luckily, I did strip them because the bushes are worn.
Yes.
All the Teflon's worn off the bushes, so I need to replace them.
Right.
Looks like someone's replaced the stanchions, but not the bushes in the past.
Yeah.
Another half job.
Another half job, yeah.
So you've just got to go through everything and make sure it's spot on.
When the time comes with the paintwork, we all know paintwork takes a long time to get done.
Yeah.
So you've got to modify the tank, haven't you? You've got
it has to have a threaded boss welded in for the fuel return.
Right.
And I've been looking on the My Parts microfiche, and you've got a fuel tap here in the normal place.
Yes.
And the return is on the opposite side of the tank. So roughly I know where it's got to go, because there's a pipe comes off the fuel pressure regulator straight vertically up into the tank.
Right.
So once I've got that on, I can work out where it should be, and and get one made and welded in.
Yeah, which won't take long, but the paintwork then takes forever, because we use Mark. We all know painters.
Mark is that good. His
queue is
big. Yeah.
So you might be waiting until next spring to get it.
Well, he's got some of my paintwork for my RD
and mine
and yours.
And
your other bike, yeah.
Yeah. So we're all waiting, but he's busy. So and he's good. He's not too expensive.
You don't mind waiting for a good job.
No, and any good painter out there is going to have a big queue. So
yeah.
Right. So that's a bit of a catch up on this bike. It's not going according to plan.
No.
But then projects like this very rarely do.
1 step forward and 2 steps backward, I think they say.
I think 1 step forward and 10 steps back on this one.
Well, yeah, true, very true.
Right, so you're now going to carry on, strip the engine down, hopefully find nothing else wrong.
Yeah, I'm just working my way through the engine now, stripping it. I've just checked the valve timing, and that's all perfect.
Yeah.
I'm going to check the valve clearances while we're here now.
Yes.
At this stage.
Yeah.
Just to make sure it doesn't need re-shimming before I put the cams back in on the rebuild.
Yeah, I'll have to move the camera so you can see what we're looking at here, because it's a bit cramped in here. It's difficult to get the...
Yeah.
Right, so there's a quick catch up, and we'll carry on the video when no doubt the engine's been taken apart, you found the issues, and you're rebuilding it. And
well, we found the issue.
One issue.
The main issue.
Yeah.
Obviously.
And hopefully you won't find any more.
Well, yeah, I mean, like we discussed earlier off camera, I don't know whether they changed the conrod bolts, because you're supposed to change them. So it's an ideal opportunity to put a fresh set of conrod bolts in.
Right.
The primary chain that's too long in this is obviously new,
yes.
So that can go in another bike,
yes.
a 650 or a 750.
Yeah.
In the future.
Right. Yeah, so as I say, projects like this, they very rarely go according to plan.
No.
Right. So
I've had to box up all the swinging arm and all the parts I had laid out on this bench.
Yes.
So once this engine's out, I've got to wrap up this frame so it doesn't get damaged,
yes,
put it out of the way somewhere.
Yeah.
And then this bike bench will become
an engine rebuild
bench.
Yeah. My engine's over there somewhere.
Parts of your engine are over there.
Yeah, don't get mixed up. Yeah.
I've got customers' stuff everywhere.
Yes.
Oh
well. Hopefully by Christmas or whatever, this will be back together again, and you can make some more progress.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Right. Okay. And we'll come back on this video when the engine's apart and hopefully on its way back to being a complete engine again.
Correct.
Good.
Yeah. I think it's time for a cup of tea.
Yes, the magic word. Right, it's a very cold morning and we're here 2 days later, and I see you've been busy taking apart the engine, so what's going on?
Well, I've stripped the engine as far as I can go in the frame to make it as light as possible. Also, without the head and barrels on, it's easier to remove from the frame without scratching anything.
Yes, you've got more clothes.
I've obviously taped it up, ready for taking the engine out now.
Yes.
I've even removed the top crankcase bolts.
Right.
I couldn't do anything last night. I couldn't physically lift the engine out on my own. I could have tried, but I didn't want to
risk it
and scratch anything.
Yeah, it's still pretty bloody heavy as it is.
Which is why I've asked you to come round this morning, just give me a 5-minute lift.
Which I have.
Just that engine, it lifted out and onto the bench here.
Onto the bench, right, okay.
And then I can carry on stripping it.
And have you found anything else wrong while you've been...
Yeah, the valve clearances were massive.
We're well out.
Well out, yeah. The valve size, as I've stripped it, I've checked it. And the only thing I've found is that the valve clearances are huge. Way too big.
Oh, too big, yeah.
Too big, yeah, all too big. So
lift it out of here.
Basically, yeah, we need to lift it out to the right.
Okay.
So whoever's lifting from this side has to put their arms through.
Right. Yeah, space isn't too good. Well, I'll go on that side and then...
Yeah, and then if you hand it to me,
yes,
I can then
lift
it to the bench.
Yeah, space is a bit tricky in here, but it's okay. It's enough to work with.
No, you can lift it on that, but it might turn.
Yeah, no, it's all right.
You might need to lift it at the back as well, so we lift it square rather than...
Right, okay,
so basically we've got to lift it vertically.
Am I okay lifting it with that?
Yeah, of course you are.
Okay.
Lift it vertically
so
upwards.
let me just give it... Oh, okay, it's not too bad.
And then out we come.
Yeah. And hang on. Just rest it now.
I just got it. No, I've got it.
Okay, you've got it. Okay. Don't want it. Right.
And that's it.
That's it. Oh. Right, so now we've got a close-up. There's your fending primary chain.
Fending primary chain, yeah.
Which you've got to actually take the engine apart to access that.
Yeah, it slides off the crank.
Yes.
So you've got to split the cases.
Yes.
Which is meant I've had to obviously strip the whole engine. Yeah, so that's where we're at. The thing is, I don't want a substandard chain.
Oh, no.
Because I mean, standard these engines are what 112 horse.
Yeah, and
with this bigger turbo and an 810 kit and some work, this could be 150 plus horsepower.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I don't want to put it through. All the power's going through this primary chain, and I don't want a substandard chain. If anything, I want a heavy duty chain. But I've looked on the parts book, which is online on Z-Power's website.
Yes.
And it gives the part number for this, the number of links, and it also says Sabaki. Now, Sabaki are a very, very good quality chain manufacturer from Japan.
Right, okay, so maybe you can source one direct.
So I'm assuming the standard chain is well up to the job.
Oh, yeah. Look at the size of it, it's massive, isn't it?
Yeah, the problem is I haven't priced the turbo chain, but I found a microfiche online for the standard Z750.
Yes.
And these chains are £320.
What, standard?
From Kawasaki.
Yeah.
321. Yeah, they're a lot of money.
Yes.
You can get patent ones for about a third the price, maybe half the price, sorry.
Yeah.
2/3 half the price.
And of course you've also got to buy a new gasket set, haven't you?
Well, some of the gaskets have come away.
Okay, yeah.
Unmarked, you can see up here. There's a few gaskets there.
Right.
The head gasket's here, which I can reuse.
Right.
Because it hasn't been run. This came off the engine.
Yes.
The 810 bore is 69mm.
Yes.
And I've measured these here, and they're 69.
Right.
I didn't want them too small and be overlapping the liner.
No, of course not, no.
I didn't know whether they'd used a standard... So I don't know whether this is a standard 750 gasket or whether it is an 810 gasket that came with the big bore kit.
Well, does it matter if it's 69mm then?
Yeah, well, it has to be the correct size for the bore, which this seems to be.
So will you reuse that, or are you going to...
Yeah, because this hasn't run.
Right.
There's a bit of muck on it. I need to clean it up.
Yes.
And it should run. It should be fine. These 3-layer steel gaskets usually.
Is that a Cometic?
There's no manufacturer's marks on it.
Okay.
Unfortunately, sometimes they have up written on them where these rivets are.
Yes.
There's a right way up, but on this there's nothing.
Okay.
So I don't know. This looks like smears of what looks like silicone. Almost here, as if they've used it to hold it in place.
Yeah, not a good idea.
Which is not a good idea, no. So I'll just wipe that off, clean the gasket with some cleaner, and away we go.
Right, good stuff.
Yeah, I mean the only upside is the fact that it's all clean.
Yes.
And there's there's no repainting, or anything like that. It's a straightforward strip and rebuild.
Right, good stuff. That's my phone. So we'll end it here then, and hopefully in the next video we'll see the engine back together again, back in the frame, and hopefully perhaps you'll have the wheels done by then and the forks and so on.
Yeah, that's true.
It'll start looking like a motorbike again.
Hopefully, yeah. This has put us back a little bit, but I think now it's time for a cup of tea.
Right, on that note, we'll leave it here. So thanks for watching, and cheers.
Cheers.